The greatest lesson I learned from my father was one of the things that, well, first, to get a good education, but one of the things that stuck with me and is with me today, because I used to see him do things for people and really just helping people, not getting paid. And one of the things he says, Cliff, you do things because they're the right things to do. You don't do things because you expect something. And he said, I've found that if you do that, good things will happen eventually without you doing anything. And that's been really my experience. And it's kind of a philosophy of mine in general. I grew up in a little town called, it's a good-sized town now, called Abilene, Texas. It was about 100,000, very small African-American black population, and we lived kind of what they say eventually across the track. It was all black, and really it was like a village. Everybody knew everybody, which was a good thing, you know. I didn't realize that we were actually poor, because my father, who only had a third grade education, my mother graduated from high school, but my father, he's really my mentor. He was wise, really beyond his educational age. My father's name was Chester Johnson. He grew up in the country, like Shiro, Texas, really in East Texas. My mother actually grew up in Abilene, Texas. My brother's name was Thomas Johnson. I was next to him, and then I had a brother named Stephen Johnson. He's still living, the next brother was Chester Johnson. He was the youngest of the four boys. And of course, my sister was the youngest of all of us. Her name is Lily Johnson. There were four boys and one girl. And the one girl, my father called her the last heartbeat, because she had the four boys and we were all anxious to get a sister. And it was a while. We were about 3 years apart, all of us. And when the sister came, we were so happy. Actually, the four boys, before the girl came, we lived in the two bedrooms. In one bedroom there, there was one bath, but we just, it was fine. So we didn't realize we were poor, but actually, we were in a sense. We went to what they call a junior-senior high school. It was named after Carter G. Woodson. It went from the 7th through the 12th. They keep all the blacks, African American, in one place, and I think that's why. Well, I know that's why they built a junior-senior high schools. So they said, look, we need to try to make sure that there's no integration or moving in. This is my thinking. And so they built a fairly nice high school there across the track, but it was in an undeveloped area. I was a good student. I was an honor student in high school because my parents pushed me. As a matter of fact, I was fourth in my class. A couple of others beat me out, but I was a leader. I was president of my class, president of the student body. My mother ended up she cooked at a bank. And so one time one of the bankers, the big banker, came in and says, hey, Estella, he called her. My mother's name was Estella. What we having today for lunch? And she'd tell him, and he'd look back at, he saw us. She says, that's your kid? She said, yeah, that's my son. She said, would you take him around? And so he said, oh yeah, so come on. So he took me around in the bank, and man, I just got wide-eyed. I think I was about 12, and he took me around to his big old office, and then he took me to, they had the tellers, most of the tellers were men. They took me to the vault, and I was just wowed. I was excited. And so when I went back to my other friend, I said, I'm going to be a banker. And hey, boy, they said, they didn't use boy, they used the N-word. Boy, how you think you're gonna be a banker? And I started crying, and my mother and my father figured out, Bubba, what's wrong with you? And so I told them, and they said, look, dry your eyes. Don't you ever let anybody tell you what you can't do. And if you want to be a banker, that's what you do. And for me, the rest is history. When I went to North Texas, the transition to an all-white school was tough. I went to the college campus, and I said, you know, I'm really having some struggles with my schoolwork. I know I work. I said, I'm really working hard and trying to do it. And he said, well, Johnson, maybe you're not fit for college. And what did he say that for? That's probably the best thing that could have been said for me. I walked out of there and said, I'll show you. And so, you know, for me, the rest is history. I graduated with a degree in, you know, banking, no less, and, you know, in banking, business banking. North Texas had a very nice business school, but they flew me into California, and with Security Pacific Bank, and boy, I got wide-eyed. I was on the training program. I was in the trust department, but I noticed in the trust department, because I wanted to advance, they said, look, it's going to, I could see this is going to take you a while to get where you want to go. It was tough anyway in the banking industry, and they were kind of treating us as window dressing anyway. So I actually ended up going on their operations training program. Was an operations supervisor, got to be an assistant manager, and then got to ultimately be a young branch manager in Compton. But I established a good relationship with my community, had an open mind, and I helped a lot of our community, which is going back to my background, to where my father said, you know, you find a way to do things. But in the banking industry, clearly there was redlining, still is. I said, look, I want to move to the next step. So, which was corporate banking. And so I called the person at Security Pacific in corporate banking, and she says, well, you can't come here unless you have an advanced degree. And I said, well, that's all you needed to tell me, that I need an advanced degree to come. So when I get my master, I'll call you back. So I enrolled in Pepperdine. I had a family. It was tough because running the branch and going to Pepperdine, I finished the course requirements. And I called her up again, and she got, come on down. We got a spot for you. During the time, you know, I had this gray big natural, and you know, I had on a loud shirt with all the teal, and my high, what's it called, platform shoes, and you know, I was pretty clean, you know. And I went down to 30th floor, and I looked around. I was going in to talk. And I saw these folks in the wingtip shoes and the red ties and the pinstripe suits, and I said, okay, because, you know, new experience for me. And so needless to say, in addition to, you know, I finally assimilated, but into the whole process, which you have to do. When I was the manager in Compton, I got involved with the Boys and Girls Club. Ultimately became the president of the Boys and Girls Club, and ended up helping to build a 27,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in Watts. I ended up ultimately becoming the first African-American president, chairman of the board of the Torrance Chamber. And they dubbed me as one of the 60 most influential individuals in Torrance because of what we did. Because when the bank had me go to Torrance, they started to, they got concerned. They said, well, geez, because there were some real things going on in Torrance. The police department was racist. They had a code, NIT, nigga in Torrance. You know, we stand on the shoulders of slavery of everybody else, and every time I think about our what we have come through, it gives me and it gave me more incentive to do what I needed to do to first of all help African Americans and my people, but also be as professional and in what I've done or do as I can be. I have a wonderful wife. Her name is Marty Johnson. We met in college and married in college, and we've been married this year 55 years. We have two girls, two daughters, and one kind of grew up with us through the whole process, and they're 18 years apart. And the way that she doesn't like to say that, but the doctor told us we couldn't have any more kids, and we went on the trip of our lives and brought back a package. She's 33 years ago, and it was wonderful because when we got back, her name is Stephanie Johnson. My two daughters are college graduates. Both are doing well. I'm so proud of them, but I call them the winds beneath my wings. My best quality is that I'm really kind of open to really help, and to the extent that some individuals tend to take advantage of that. So you've had to close the circle, and I think that goes back to my weakest side, where I tend to really be overly trusting. The thing that I'm most proud of is building that club in Watts. That was a challenge. I had to pull out all the stops. It was just amazing to be able to do that. When you leave a legacy of what you've done and who you've helped, I mean, all the money in the world can't do that. For the future, I like to see our young people really understand and know our history and the shoulders that we stand on, and not only that, but to be able to give back. You know, when they look at movies about slavery and about that happened a long time ago. yeah, it happened, but you need to know about that. And some of them are kind of cavalier about the slavery issue and what happened. Our people should know about our history on that side, but also know about the benefits of what we've been able to contribute. The Carter G. Woodsons of the world, we have some wonderful people that have done a lot for this country and the world, inventions and everything. We should know about that. And a lot of that wasn't and still isn't taught in our schools, where our young people don't really realize it on the history basis. And that's what I'd like for things to happen in that area in the future. And I'm hopeful that will happen.